This episode of the Fairway to Retail Success is brought to you by AGM vendor partner T-Commerce, the online retail solution for golf facilities. T-Commerce helps merchandisers and golf professionals expand sales beyond the physical shop and fill merchandising gaps. Give your members and customers the convenience of shopping online 24/7, all with no extra inventory risk or additional work for your staff. Visit tcommerce.shop to learn how easy it is to take your shop online. Now, back to today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fairway to Retail Success and AGM podcast. I'm your host, Justine Cook. Today, we are joined by Steve Risler, Senior Manager of Golf Retail at Whistling Straits in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and the 2026 AGM Merchandiser of the Year for the resort category. Steve leads one of the world's most prestigious destination golf retail operations, bringing a prestige-first philosophy to every aspect of the shop. Known for his curated, limited edition product capsules, intentional merchandising, and strong vendor collaborations, he has positioned Whistling Straits as a global benchmark for elevated golf retail. With a focus on empowering his team and creating meaningful experiences for every guest, Steve has cultivated a culture where staff and guests feel valued, seen, and connected to something larger than themselves. His strategic approach blends operational excellence, visual merchandising, and thoughtful inventory management, all while ensuring that every purchase leaves a lasting impression on guests visiting this iconic resort. Steve, welcome. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you joining us for this episode.
Thank you, Justine. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, and I love what the AGM is doing. So it's a real privilege to speak with you today.
Thank you. So I'd love to ask, how did you get started in the golf industry and how did you end up at Whistling Straits? Can you tell us a little bit more about that career journey?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually started out my retail journey at a big box retailer. What big box retailing taught me is that things go fast and you need to have discipline. You need to understand things like data sets, trends, seasonality, and probably most importantly, people. The big box retail environment really started rapidly changing in the mid 2000s. I think a lot of things were happening with competition, and the internet started. So that was the beginning of online platforming. And then by the, I guess, mid 2000s, I was looking at my career journey in big box going, is this for me? I don't see a big future in it. Sales were declining. Money was not great. Hours were terrible. It was a tough work environment. Actually, I give a lot of credit to those working in retail, big box retail nowadays. It's got to be a different climate from even back in those days. But mid 2000s, I was really looking at my career path and started focusing on what is my next career? What do I want to do next in my life? I was living in this area in the Sheboygan County area where Kohler Company is located. And the Kohler Company has always been a really terrific standout company in the community. It's known for having a good work environment where people are treated well. So I actually started my next career search there. And honestly, I wasn't looking to get into golf at all. I kind of started out looking at, was Kohler Plumbing? Is there a sales job there? Can I do something with retail there? But as I was going through the job descriptions, I saw an opportunity at Whistling Straits, and it wasn't really what I was looking for as an entry-level position, as a part-time job. I was going from a salary position, but something about this really struck me, and really I was kind of drawn to it. And I don't know if it was from when I was a young boy. My grandparents would take me out and we'd hit balls on the driving range, and I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old, and they were gloat over, oh, you hit the ball so well and you do so well at golf and you should go into golf someday. And I'm sure I was topping the ball every time, hitting it 15 yards, and probably terrible, and I don't know if it was that. I don't know if it was, there was just something about that position that really stood out to me as maybe I want to try this. And I already had the retail background, so I knew that I was good there. I didn't have any experience in golf though. So I kind of talked it over with my family. I'm like, probably be a big pay cut and big change in lifestyle and stuff like that. And I was really nervous to do it, but I applied for the job and somehow I got it. So I started out in Kohler at Whistling Straits in 2007. It was actually 2 weeks right before the Senior Open. So
Oh, wow.
if you want to try a trial by fire kind of example, that's one. You learn so much when you're put in the front lines like that and have to kind of drink from the fire hose, as they say.
Mm,
But I have been with Kohler since 2007, so almost 20 years. The Kohler company has not disappointed. They're a great place to work. Throughout my time with Kohler, I've only been in retail, only been in golf retail. I've been a part of several major championships, the 2007 U.S. Senior Open. Not really a huge championship, but my first experience and an intense one at that. The 2010 PGA Championship, 2015 PGA Championship, and then the 2020 Ryder Cup, which actually was held in 2021. So that was quite an experience. But throughout my time in Kohler, like I said, I started as a part-time inventory coordinator and worked my way up throughout the years. I've held positions, inventory coordinator, retail supervisor, manager of retail, and finally ended up in the top spot in golf retail at senior managers. So right now, I'm in charge of a few different properties, a few different places. Whistling Straits, of course, most know Whistling Straits for all the championships and prestige that comes along with those, but also in charge of Black Wolf Run Retail, Kohler Swing Studio, which is our indoor hitting facility, the Emporium, which is our hotel gift shop, and then our Kohler Internal Orders Department, which supplies the retail for the Kohler company. So Kohler is a multi-billion-dollar privately held company, and that is a large department that does a lot of volume in and of itself. So it's a pretty diverse mix of responsibilities, but that's the high level of my start with Whistling Straits and Kohler.
Amazing. And I love that you mentioned drinking from the fire hose to learn. I think
Yeah,
sometimes that's the best way to do it in golf.
I think that happens a lot with a lot of folks, and
Yeah,
I think most people can probably relate to me on that one.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, how many retail locations are there as far as physical locations across Black Wolf Run, Whistling Straits? How many essentially shops are there?
Yes, they both have. Whistling Straits has one golf shop, and it's actually a tiny golf shop, 1,350 square feet. And we do a massive volume out of that shop. Black Wolf Run is about the same square footage. Both golf courses service two 18-hole golf courses. Black Wolf Run also has a 10-hole par three golf course called the Baths. And then we have some boutique stores. So the hotel gift shop, the Emporium, we have a boutique store called Wisconsin Trader, Kohler Gardner. We're opening a new store called Roots to Roses. We have the Kohler Swing Studio. So we have a large boutique profile as
Mm,
well.
very cool. Very cool. And I know I mentioned in my introduction that you were our 2026 AGM Merchandiser of the Year for the resort category, which congratulations again on
Thank you.
that. What
Thank
has
you.
that recognition meant to you this year?
Yeah, I remember I was here at Black Wolf Run. I'm taking a call today, and I was just finishing up a meeting, and I got a call from Jennifer, and she told me I won the Merchandiser of the Year category for resort, and I thought she was kidding. I'm like, really? I did? I was blown away. It's an extremely meaningful honor, and to be honest, very humbling to me. I can't express in words what it means to me. It really does mean a lot to me. I think for all of us in the golf retail community, we come into work, we work a lot of hours, we all work hard. So it's truly, like I said, it's hard for me to put this into words, knowing that all of my colleagues in the industry all put in the same effort that I do every day. So, but also, awards like this are not singularly about one person. I have a large retail team. I'm very fortunate that I have a large retail team. Not many places do. And this award is really a reflection on those daily efforts from everyone that shows up and takes pride in what they do. So I think the award validates that some of the approaches that I've been taking over the years really really show that it works. That when you empower people, when you focus on the culture, when you run the business with discipline, when you know the numbers, the results follow. So again, just incredibly rewarding for me. So again, thank you to the AGM for that honor. I'm blown away.
Absolutely. So I know that your property, probably particularly Whistling Straits, is such a destination for golfers. How does that really influence your merchandising approach? What kind of product you're bringing in, the guest experience? How does that kind of destination aspect play a role?
Yeah, that's a big question. We have new guests coming through the door every day. We have 400 guests coming through our door every day. And being a destination means that everyone coming through those doors are really excited to be here. So that's different from the big box retail life that I once lived, where people weren't necessarily as excited to be here. It's awesome to see the energy and enthusiasm that people have walking through the door. Almost everyone coming in is wanting to purchase a logo item because of that. So in many cases, I see folks picking up 10 different items for friends or family members, loved ones. And I think the biggest thing for us, for me at least, is we want the guest experience to be phenomenal. And a big part of that is making sure that the merchandising collections stay new, stay fresh, have complete size runs. There's nothing more frustrating for a guest when you walk into a store. I know I've gone to other premier golf courses and that shirt or that polo is awesome. I really want to buy it. Oh, it's not my size, and just really disappointed. So just having the items that our guests are really looking for. So I think it's also just as important for us to partner with vendors that align with our company values. That's a shift that I've made over the last 5 years is we really want to partner with vendors that are cool and unique and have a prestige of their own. We want our guests to have a high-end luxury premium product that is unique to the property and something that maybe you can't find everywhere you go. We want the retail piece to feel special. And many of our guests have planned this trip for years, and being able to exceed their expectations with something cool and unique just adds to the overall experience.
Definitely. And I'm glad you mentioned the vendors being aligned in that capacity too. That's very important. And I know you have some very cool limited edition capsules that you work on and very curated assortments, and it's a hallmark of your retail. How do you, for those really special opportunities, how do you decide what products make the cut? How do you balance having a prestige with profitability? What vendor's the right fit? What is that process like to be one of your limited edition capsules?
Yeah, like you said, the vendor piece is really important. Within the normal scope of business, our day-to-day operations, we use a vendor scorecard, and I've had some conversations with some of our colleagues in the industry, Big Cedar, Pinehurst, Bandon, some of the largest, best resorts in the world. And I've taken little bits and pieces from all of them to create our something that's meaningful to us, a vendor scorecard that creates several data points, one that hits on turn rate, one that looks at margin, one that hits on revenue, average prices, etc. But something that's new and unique that I thought was interesting was we added elements like vendor communication. How does the vendor communicate with us? Are they responsive when we have a desperate need? How is the deliveries coming in? Are they coming in a timely manner? What's the embroidery quality? Are the invoices accurate? All of those different components, we also rank those to make sure that we're partnering with the right folks. This works with our inventory management system and creates a data set that helps me make decisions on how effective our vendors are overall, and actually ranks them with a grade school mentality, an A, B, C, D ratings. What I see in the shop is that people want to buy things that speak to them, and especially the customers that come here that are well traveled. One of our one of our largest demographics, California, New York, Chicago. Those folks coming in have been to a lot of different golf courses, and they want to see something that's different, not just the same Peter Millar polo on the shelf that they can find anywhere
Mhm.
else. So I don't necessarily spend a ton of time looking at products, but I focus a little bit more attention on looking for new vendors that are doing something different and cool and elevating the what might fit in our golf shop. In some cases, doing special, unique SKU makeup items that are storytelling for us at Kohler's. This is part of the reason why we do these limited edition capsules and why they are so important to us. The scarcity piece, not being able to buy it everywhere, can be a powerful sales tool for
Mm.
consumers. And if we're able to storytell around that, it just makes it even more desirable. So I will say, though, not all of the limited edition things that we do, or not all the special makeup things that we do really resonate. There, there have been a few capsules that we brought in that we've tried that I really thought were amazing, and I really kind of fell flat. But that teaches us too that our guests are the ones that are telling us this is what we want to see more of. This is what we want to see less of. Some of the items might be too fashion forward, or maybe the colors turned off some buyers, and maybe it was a price point. Either way, it's not sometimes not as successful as I would hope it would be. And try with the best intentions. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but most times it does. Really is a balance overall.
I'm so glad you mentioned the vendor scorecard. I recently had Jared Henslick on the podcast from Big Cedar, and he was talking in depth about his. Glad to hear it's present in other properties. That is so important, and I think it's such a great tool. And I think that's awesome that you have vendor communication on there because that can really make or break a successful year with a vendor.
Absolutely. Big shout out to Jared. I mean, I did take a couple of those elements from his scorecards, but that's also important in the community is
Mhm.
that's what I love about golf retail is that you can pick up the phone or I can send an email and our colleagues are phenomenal. The peers in some of the resort categories are so willing to help out whenever there's a question or a concern or even just a, hey, I've never dealt with this before. Have you dealt with something like this? That's one thing I really truly love about the golf industry is that we are so tight knit and everyone kind of knows everyone, and it really is an amazing environment
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. It's certainly a good hallmark of our community.
for sure.
You and your team have such amazing visual merchandising. I know I always see the pictures you all submit for your Platinum Awards and the
Thank you.
other places, which I know makes probably a huge difference in your shop. How do you use your visual merchandising to enhance the guest experience and hopefully drive sales as well? What role do you see it playing?
Yeah, this is a huge one for us actually, and something I really believe in. In fact, I believe in the visual merchandising piece so much that I created a visual merchandiser position. So
Wow.
someone that can go around to multiple shops that we own in Kohler and have a consistent look, consistent vibe, even if the store is completely different. It can have a consistent merchandising story. So visual merchandising really sets the expectation as guests are walking into the shop. If they walk in and things are poorly merchandised, it can have an impact on what's selling and what's not selling. So we've actually, in the last several years, we've gone from a mentality that was, if it's not in the floor, it's not going to sell. If it's seen in the stockroom, it's not going to sell. We've gone from that to a less is more mentality.
Mm.
And the less is more philosophy that we have really puts a huge level of importance on how the golf shop looks and feels when guests walk in. We think about everything from the flow of the shop to sight lines, how guests move through the space and what their eyes naturally go to. Those small details are important. And the goal is to make every experience feel intuitive and elevated, not overwhelming. So I've actually in the past, we've, as we're going through some of these exercises, we've taken fixtures, whole big rounders and four ways off the sales floor completely with achieving double digit growth. So just that small piece, and it's so counterintuitive, right? If you don't have merchandise on the floor, it's not going to sell. But with doing that, we saw the year that we did that, we saw double digit increases in sales. So it was so counterintuitive, and I was really nervous, honestly, to pull a trigger because I'm like, how am I going to make up these sales? But when things look shoppable and elevated, it truly can help bump those sales.
Yes, less is more sometimes when it
Less
comes
is
to
more.
visual.
My entire team has heard that probably 1,000 times. So
Sometimes too many options is that paradox of choice for the consumer or overwhelming for them. So less is more.
absolutely, absolutely.
I know you've written about in your Platinum Award applications about achieving top marks in 59 Club benchmarking, which I think is an interesting thing to talk about, those sort of independent benchmarking opportunities folks might be looking for. What role does that kind of independent validation play in shaping your strategy, maintaining your high level of excellence at your properties?
Yeah. So 59 Club is something that we did last year fully. The year before, we just tiptoed into it and did a little demo maybe the first years. But that independent verification. So 59 Club is a third party, like you said, that comes in and everything from the booking process to the hotel stay to walking in the golf shop to their dining experience to their golfing experience, the ease of getting around the property, every single piece of their experience is evaluated by the 59 Club. That independent validation really keeps us honest. I think sometimes we have emotion or we have a comfort level of we do this well and this is my job, and you come in and you refold things, you fluff and move things around, but and you think that you're doing a good job, but when someone else comes in with a fresh set of eyes, it really removes the emotion from the equation and replaces it with objective insight from a third party. And it helps us understand how our standards are actually being experienced from the guest. I think most properties are like this, where if you work in food and beverage, you just work in food and beverage. If you work in the golf shop, you're working in the golf shop. If you work at outside podium, you're outside. So you only experience that one piece of it. So it really shows us how things are being delivered wholly, holistically.
Right.
That distinction is really important to us. So feedback from the 59 Club allows us to pinpoint specific moments in the guest journey where the execution from our team is actually where we want it to be or shows opportunities for us to improve. And the thing when I'm looking at the 59 Club results, I don't chase the scores. We may get a really great score, we may get not such a great score, but we use the data very intentionally. So when the feedback conforms to what we think is working, it reinforces the efforts and builds confidence with everybody on our team. When it identifies gaps, it shows us clearly what's missing and how we need to address it and what we need to improve. So ultimately, the independent validation ensures that we're always refining how we show up for the guest. We want it to be premium, we want it to be luxury, we want it to be something that not every property executes at that level. So using this insight to drive action, elevated service delivery, and continued improvement are always something that's at the forefront of what we're trying to drive at every touch point in our resort.
Yeah, I think that's great things for folks to think about having that kind of outside look when you're all in it every day. Sometimes I think it's easy to lose sight of certain things. So having fresh eyes in whatever shape that may take is certainly valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, the first results were actually very humbling. I didn't really think about that. So it really provides context. It really does.
That's great. That's awesome. And being at a destination type of property, your retail is at a global stage of having guests coming from lots of places to visit. And that comes with unique challenges around supply chain disruptions, guest expectations, high standards. How do you stay nimble and keep your operation thriving despite these variables, whether it's a shipping issue or product coming in overseas or price increases, tariffs, all those sorts of things that may disrupt your operation? How do you stay nimble?
Yeah, that's for anyone who's been in retail over the last 6 years. They've certainly experienced a lot of challenges and a lot of changes in how we do things, right? So whether it's, like you said, the tariffs, economic uncertainty, global pandemic, success, in my opinion, I think success comes down to understanding your business in real time and leaning on the relationships, the strong partnerships that you've established over the years with your vendors and with your teams. It can be uncomfortable when plans don't unfold as you expect them to. And like I said, we've had a lot of that over the last 6 years. How you respond, not necessarily to the disruption itself, but how you show up and how you respond is ultimately what defines your success. When you have a clear understanding of your inventory, your data, your financial position, you give yourself options. That clarity creates flexibility. And that flexibility is what allows you to pivot when any challenging condition happens. We spend a lot of time ensuring that we truly understand where our business is and not where we just planned it to be. I think a major part of the agility or nimbleness, like I mentioned, comes from the vendor relationships. It comes from our partners. Over the last several years, we've become very intentional on what vendors we're carrying, and we see them as long-term partners. Every vendor visit that we have, we spend time catching up, not just on, hey, how's your business doing? Where can we help improve? Stuff like that. But we talk on a very personal level, and me, and I'm sure everyone else in this industry has gotten to know and have relationships with their vendors that become truly personal and important. Open, honest communication becomes easier when we have those relationships with vendors, and they help us to solve problems together. It's it would never be in our best interest or anyone's best interest, I don't think, to just try to own it on your own. Our vendors and our partners can always step in and help a little bit when there are supply chain constraints or tariff charges or shifts in consumer demand. When those relationships are strong, it's easier to adjust buying and shift timing and rethink assortments in real time before it's too late. So, but another piece of this that I think is really truly important is empowering our team to adapt. So it doesn't necessarily have to come from me. All of our leaders on our team, whether they are a first year entry level sales associate, an intern, a buyer, whoever, the empowerment part is huge. So I encourage problem solving at every level of the organization, and I trust my team to raise concerns early and bring forward solutions. That nimbleness is not just a leadership trait, it's more of a cultural one. And when people feel empowered to speak up and challenge assumptions, we'll be the first person to admit during our management meetings or during our meetings with our teams that I make mistakes every single day, probably dozens of times a day. But the ability to come forward and have your voice heard is truly important. And that's what makes organizations resilient, is when you can have that open line of communication with your team.
Fantastic. Yes. And I think the vendor piece, like you spoke about, is so central to all of that. Like you said, we truly couldn't do it without them. So when you
Yeah.
are in those sticky situations, or you might need help getting something faster, or an issue arises, we need their support to make that happen.
Yeah, and it sometimes is hard. Like I said, you form these relationships with vendors that you've known. I've known a lot of vendors for the last almost 20 years, and knowing that their livelihood is selling you
Yes.
merchandise and to have to cut it back can be a hard conversation, but it's one
Right.
that is easier and makes that relationship stronger.
Absolutely. So, what's next for retail at Whistling Straits and Black Wolf Run? Are there any exciting new launches, initiatives, opportunities, vendors that you're particularly excited about for 2026 and beyond?
Yeah. So there's an absolute ton going on at Kohler right now. The Kohler company has really made some very strategic and large long-term financial investments across our entire hospitality division. Not only are we enhancing our existing assets, but we're also introducing new experiences that'll redefine what Kohler golf looks like and feels like over the next generation. One of the really exciting things that I'm super excited for is the development of a new golf project called Purebred Farms. Purebred is a 14-hole golf course slated to open in late 2027. And this is kind of just the tip of the iceberg, but it really reflects on Kohler's commitment to innovation, design, and experiential luxury within the game of golf. From a retail perspective, I see all of the investments being made across our entire resort as a massive opportunity for me and my department. As a resort continues to evolve, retail needs to evolve alongside of it. Our role is no longer just to keep up with the guest experience, but it's to actively elevate it. Looking ahead, that's our focus is we want to partner with the best in class brands. We want to create products and capsules that are truly unique to Kohler. items that guests can't find anywhere else, and that's meaningful and connects meaningfully to the golf courses themselves. Another key focus for us is, and something that is truly important to me, is the guest experience. My belief is that retail must feel effortless, elevated, personal. That meaning refining that meaning really changes how we look at our service standards on an annual basis. So we're doing things like leveraging technology to reduce friction as they're checking in. We're empowering our retail teams to make decisions. Retail can be a highlight of guest journey, not just a transactional stop at the end of a round. The mindset is already embedded in the strategy and reinforced through the staffing, the training, and the operational improvements that we're making. So I guess ultimately my goal is to ensure that golf retail grows within the broader vision of the
Mm,
resort.
very cool. I think that's a really nice way to frame it, that it's part of the ecosystem,
For
so to
sure.
speak, of the experience and the culture of the property. So
Correct.
sounds like
Correct.
nice things to be looking forward to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That about wraps up my questions for today. Thank you so much, Steve. It was terrific getting to learn more about you and your career and all the great things that you all have going on with retail at Kohler Properties. So thank you for sharing everything.
Yeah. No, thank you for taking time with me. Like I said, the AGM, I'm a big supporter and I love what you guys are doing. The education piece is amazing, and these podcasts are great, and they're a great way to just get information out to folks. Keep doing what you guys are doing. I'm all in.
Thank you, Steve. We really appreciate that and all your support along the way. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of the Fairway to Retail Success. We appreciate you being here and look forward to having you join us in our next episode. Take care, everyone.